In this lesson, we'll add a little bit of an inset and a raised area on the top of our case. All right, so the area that we want to look at is here right on the top in this lowered area. We want to add a little bit of an inset to put kind of an emblem into, so it'll be kind of flush with the case instead of having it just sit right on top. And I want it to be sort of oval shaped. And then we want to have more of kind of a square shaped raised area on this kind of molded case kind of right up here. And so let's go ahead and hit 1 on our keyboard. We don't really need this center line right now, and so we can go ahead and delete that. Now if I just delete it, it's going to leave behind these points, and we don't really want that. So what I can do is, I would do delete edge / vertex in the past, but now there's a hotkey combination we can use as well, and that's Control plus delete. So instead of just hitting delete, we'll go ahead and hit Control, delete, and that'll get rid of those edges. Now let's look at this and think about it for a second. When we smooth this, it smooths between all the edges, so we get, these nice shapes around here. But if we were to look at one polygon, for instance right in here, there's no really resolution here to hold this if we just look at this single polygon. So it's going to get smooth in sort of a rounded shape, which for our inset is what we want, but for our kind of raised area, it's not. So because of that, I'm going to actually add a couple of edges in here before we add our inset, because if we do it after, the edges that we add to kind of harden up these lines can affect the shape of our inset. So we'll go ahead and use our Insert Edge Loop tool. Let's do multiple edge loops, and let's just choose 2 for now. And so we'll set them right in the middle there. I'm going to use Scale and just kind of pull these out a little bit. Okay, so that gives us a line over here and a line over here that will ensure that this is a little bit more square shaped versus just a rounded shape. Okay, so now we'll take this new interior polygon and we'll use that for our inset. So we'll start by going ahead and just doing extrude, and then we want to just take this down to the actual size and shape of the outer part of the inset, knowing that when we smooth this, it's going to be more of kind of an oval, but kind of contained within this. And so once you get to a point where the proportion starts to get a little bit off, you can use your transform manipulator to get it, the right shape and size there. And now instead of using our Insert Edge Loop tool to add new edges, we can just, in the process of extruding, do another offset, and we can add that edge to kind of hold this line here. Now we want to push it into the surface, so we'll do another extrude, or we can just hit G on our keyboard, and we can kind of move this down here. All right, and so now when we hit 3, you can see it's created that rounded indentation. Now you can see it's a little bit faceted. That's just kind of the preview of our smooth mesh. We can go into smooth mesh in our attribute editor, and if you want to set this, change this to a higher level, you get a little bit higher quality. Now if we want to raise up this area or this part on the front, we can come in here and start to raise this up. Now if we want to have a little bit more of a tight edge right on the front, we can include this line. You'll notice now only the back will be a little bit too soft. So as you start to go through this process, you're really going to start to view your model in your mind as the smooth version. So you'll be able to see in your head what that's going to look like. So you would know, if you build this up, you'd know beforehand, oh, I know I'm going to need an edge there when I smooth it. So I don't even have to kind of see it as a smooth version. Let me go ahead and reset our tool. We'll add a new edge loop right in there. And then you get that sort of raised area on the front. Okay, and if you wanted to, you can see how it's kind of soft there, and that's just because of this line coming right in here. So we could add another edge loop right in there if we wanted to kind of tighten that up. Now when you have a model that's not a kind of a square like this, you're going to have to probably be a little bit more creative in how you add those edges. We can't add them as easily as we're doing right now, because we know because of the shape of this. We know all those edges we add, they're not really going to affect the back or the sides because it's a square, flat shape. You know, if this was curved, as we talked about before, you're going to have a few more issues with that. So just keep that in mind. Start to think about your model. If you're going to be smoothing it, try to get an idea of what is this going to look like when it's smoothed, and then smooth it and see if you're right. See if those edges where you've placed those are doing what you want them to do, what you expect them to do. If you add an edge, you know, right here, is that going to tighten it up in the way that you want it to? Well, that works great up here, but then there was this part on the back, so we need to add another edge back here. As you start to do that and get more experience doing that, you won't really even have to check it anymore. You'll just be able to know, okay, I need an edge here, I need an edge here, I need an edge over here to make the shape that I want. It'll just become kind of ingrained. So just practice up with that. But we just went through in this lesson and kind of create a little bit of inset, raised area, and took a look at kind of doing things in order so that we're able to get the shapes that we want and then also get the edge hardness that we want in certain areas. So the next thing we'll do is we'll just build some kind of raised ridges on the back and the sides, and then get into building the latches and the case handle and things like that. So we'll go ahead and start that in the next lesson.